against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yo, welcome to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. We're your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, color breaking news, culture, magic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the most watched daily Bitcoin only live show on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Today we have a very, very special show. Michael Saylor continues his speculative attack on the dollar. He's continuing to leverage his company to borrow money at a very, very, very low rate to buy all the Bitcoin, to buy more Bitcoin. In other news, Wall Street continues to gobble all the sats up. BlackRock announced that it files to purchase more Bitcoin ETFs for their SIO fund. So we're going to get into the details of that, of course, and also something that may play close to the heart to a lot of people in the Gen Z generation, in the millennial generation, that perhaps have been outpriced out of buying their first home. We have this epic clip of Preston Pish on the Swan Signal podcast that's addressing just that. But like we've always said on Simply Bitcoin, if you've been saving in Bitcoin, regardless of real estate doubling in the last 2 years alone, guess what? Actually, things have gotten progressively cheaper. Isn't it beautiful living on a Bitcoin standard? I mean, this thing by Michael Saylor, I asked him in Madeira, Portugal, at Bitcoin Atlantis. You know, I had the privilege to be able to have a conversation with him and Eric Cason. And we were talking for like 10, 15 minutes. And I straight up asked him, like, what's taking so long? Why? You know, if it's clear that MicroStrategy's Bitcoin strategy is succeeding, it's working, it's outpacing the S&P 500, it's outpacing gold, it's outpacing the tech stocks, maybe Nvidia, but it's an outlier. The point is that it's outpacing basically everything. Why haven't more high profile people put their names behind it? Why haven't more public companies, jumped into the fold? Right now, it's really MicroStrategy and Tesla. As much as people hate Elon, Tesla has a pretty big Bitcoin position. Those seem to be the only two public companies. I really believe that this cycle, we're going to see that change, as not only Michael Saylor gets completely vindicated, especially once we approach the cycle highs, but also on the nation state level, El Salvador, right? El Salvador's in the green. Nayib Bukele said his average price per Bitcoin was about $40,000. So all those attacks by the Associated Press, by the Wall Street Journal, by the New York Times, by all the legacy corporate media and their allies, and also members of the U.S. government, they got it flat out wrong. Where are they now? They're staying pretty quiet. They're not really saying anything. So anyways, it's going to be a great show. I want to bring up my legendary co-host, who's always optimistic. I think I caught him in a smile today. Of course, we got Optimus Fields in the house. How you doing, Opti?
Man, another day of paradise. Life is good. Everything's great. Yeah, Bitcoin keeps winning. We got cheap sats today. Who knows where the price is going? We wicked yesterday, and hey, man, it's good. Life's just better being a Bitcoiner. I can't really say more than that. But anyways, Nico, you were talking about El Salvador.
I was.
Hey, guys, we got a very special guest for you guys today.
Speaking of El Salvador, we have Miss El Salvador. We have Alejandra Guajardo in the house. How you doing? For anyone who doesn't, how you doing, Alejandra?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. And for anyone who doesn't know, this made the rounds on Bitcoin Twitter. Alejandra wore the Bitcoin contest at the Miss Universe pageant. That absolutely went, everyone went crazy. Alejandra, you've seen a complete, change in your country. I think that really El Salvador is this shining country on a hill. It's an example to the rest of Central and South America. Being a Venezuelan myself, originally from Venezuela, I'm really a Miamian, better said. You look at El Salvador and you see that, as an example for the rest of the region, right? And you know how I know what Nayib Bukele is doing is working. Not only is he the most popular president in the Americas, but also the attacks coming from the legacy media. They hate this guy for making the country safer. Why? Why is that? What's going on there? So it's an honor to have you on Simply Bitcoin. And I don't know if you had some thoughts about what I just said.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here. And yes, like you said, a lot of people hate him because of what he did with all the bad people, with the maras. But I think in this world, you need to have a hard hand. That's how you say it. Mano dura, so things can change. So before Bukele, El Salvador was one of the most dangerous countries in the world. And now, because of what he has done, it's the safest country in America. Like a lot of Canadians, can you imagine? Canada is one of the best places to live, safest places to live. They're coming to live in El Salvador, as well as Americans, Europeans, Australians. Like in Australia, it's another country where it's like very good to live, So El Salvador, for sure, it's a very good place to be right now, and especially because of Bitcoin, of course.
100%. Yeah. No, he's completely transformed the nation, the country. Yeah. It's a lot safer to live. Also, I'm seeing Opti. I think this might be a record for our Twitter audience. We're at 243 live viewers on Twitter. Usually the bulk of our viewers are coming from YouTube. So seems like Twitter is having a little bit of a field day right now. But anyways, guys, if you are enjoying the show, regardless of the platform that you are listening to us on, make sure to smash that like button. So if you're listening to us on Rumble, smash it. If you're listening to us on Rumble and Twitter and X, smash the like button, drop a comment. And of course, on YouTube, smash that like button. Really, really helps with the YouTube algos. That being said, before we get into the numbers, I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, our lead sponsor. And of course, I am talking about the Bitcoin Well. Help us make self-custody by default in the US, only brought to you by Bitcoin Well, the standard. And you animals push the Bitcoin jackpot to over 2 million sats. That's right. If you visit bitcoinwell.com/contest, you have an opportunity to win a 2.17 million sats jackpot. And if you're an existing user of Bitcoin Well, go to the rewards section to enter the contest. We'll be announcing the winner of the Foundation Devices Passport tomorrow on tomorrow's episode live. I think Adam, it will be just guys, you have to check out Bitcoin Well. It's the first Bitcoin on-ramp in the United States to be self-custody by default. That's right. You can't buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well unless you take self-custody. And self-custody is the revolution. Fast account verification, free automatic withdrawals, 1% fees, and nothing else. What are you waiting for? This is what Simply Bitcoin prefers. If you're going to buy Bitcoin, buy it on Bitcoin Well. Sign up today. Go to bitcoinwell.com. And if you want to enter the contest for a chance to win 2.17 million Satoshis, go to bitcoinwell.com/contest for more details. All right, everybody, let's get to the numbers. Let's do it.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp. All right, guys, I'm gonna change it up a little bit because the chat is very, very lively today. So I'm gonna read some of these comments. But guys,
Don't do it. Don't
listen.
do it.
No. I want to ask one of the questions. This is a good question by Loco TX. So I'm gonna read it in a second. But before we get to that, guys, Simply Bitcoin is supported by, you know, we're on air because of our sponsors. So it really, really helps. Really helps support us, guys. And also, not only by supporting us, support yourself. Properly secure your Bitcoin and your generational wealth. Store your Bitcoin seed words on titanium. Don't store them on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put in one of the strongest metals on planet Earth. Also got a comment yesterday. Guys, you don't send your seed words to Stamp Seed, okay? You buy a Stamp Seed, they send you the storage kit to your home where you do it in the privacy of your own home. Don't send your seeds to anywhere. This is just a tool for you to put your seed words on titanium. That's what it's about. Okay, because I saw some comments that people didn't understand. You could do that by checking the link in the video description or scanning the QR code on your screen, and you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off. Okay, before we get into the numbers, I do want to spice it up, change it up a little bit. We did get a comment from Loco TX. I want to ask Alejandra right off the bat. Loco TX says, Alejandra, when was the first time you heard of Bitcoin, and what was the first thing that made you a believer in Bitcoin? Alejandra, I think you're muted.
Uh-oh.
It seems like we might be having some audio problems.
Try again. Okay, yeah, wow, that's weird. All right, Alejandra, pop off and pop back in on the link and we'll get it going.
Yeah, it seems like we're having some audio problems, some technical difficulties right now.
Yeah, just pop off and hit the link again and come back in.
Yeah. So while we figure that out, let's back to the numbers at the time of recording. This is a live show. We roll with the punches, baby. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 66,980 sats per dollar, 1,493. Let's see. Alejandra, could you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Awesome. All right.
Yeah,
okay,
back.
let's finish the numbers and then we'll continue that question. So block height 833,431, blocks to halving 16,569, halving estimate April 20th, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity 4,394 Bitcoin. Capacity value $294 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation 1.74%. The market capitalization of Bitcoin $1.32 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap almost at 10%. We're sitting pretty at 9.55%. I saw someone trolling us about that Peter Schiff episode. I mean, I think he's trying to engagement farm because, you know, Bitcoin is sure catching up. All right, before we get to the video, I do want to ask Alejandra that question from Loco TX. Alejandra, when was the first time you heard of Bitcoin, and what was the thing that made you a believer in Bitcoin? By the way, for anyone tuning in, Alejandra Guajardo is Miss El Salvador from Miss Universe, so we're really happy for her to join us today. So Alejandra, what's the answer to that question? What do you think?
When I was at university, like 2017, 2016, all of my friends, they were like buying Bitcoin and of course on other coins because, you know, like if you're a beginner, you start with all of that. So that was the first time that I heard about that, and I bought a little bit, just a little bit, and I bought some others, you know. And then when El Salvador made legal tender Bitcoin, I was like, what is going on? And then I decided to wear my Bitcoin dress at Miss Universe. But when I was a huge believer, it was when El Salvador made it like legal tender. But before that, I just had like a little bit of Bitcoin and that's it.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay. So it was basically Miss Universe, it was a university that it was your first exposure. We got Sophie in the chat. Sophie, shame on you. It would have been nice to. I think there would have been like a record for Simply Bitcoin in terms of ratios. We would have had
the most women on Simply Bitcoin ever.
On Simply Bitcoin. It'd be great. Anyways, I do want to give a shout out to our Twitter audience. This is a record for our Twitter audience. We're at 416 live viewers on Twitter. I don't know what's going on. And of course, the live chat is absolutely going crazy. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So today I do want to play this clip from Preston Pish. This is a clip from our friends over at Swan, and this is a clip from Swan Signal Live. It's with Brady Swenson and Sam Callahan, and Preston Pish hits the nail on the head. He's talking about housing. He's talking about something that, again, if you are a millennial, a Gen Zer, and you haven't been in Bitcoin, you're trying to make your first home purchase, you might be feeling the pain. You might be feeling the pain. I would say, the majority of people are struggling. And I think Preston Pish really, really addresses this in this video. So let's check it out. Here we go.
Before COVID, okay, January 1st, 2020. Back then, in the town that I live, a middle class home was around, maybe upper middle class. It was around $500,000 to own a house if you were going to buy it. Today, that same exact house goes for $1 million. Okay, it's only been 4 years. 4 years, and that house has appreciated. I'm using air quotes here because once you hear the math, this is going to blow your mind. Has appreciated to $1 million. Well, if you're a millennial or you're somebody that's trying to buy a house now, today, and not 4 years ago, listen to this math. That $500,000 house compared to the $1 million house today, because interest rates have changed, because inflation is now manifesting itself. Back then, that $500,000 house you could buy with a 3% interest rate loan. But today, that same house, that $1 million house, is 7%. So guess how much more expensive your monthly payment is on that house from just 4 years ago? It's not twice as much. It's 3.2 times higher than what it was just 4 years ago. So if your monthly payment on this house was, let me see what the numbers are here. I did a net present value instead. So the net present value when the house was $500,000 at 3% was $758,000. Today, the net present value of that house is $2.4 million. What? Okay, because it's $1 million at 7%. Okay, now here's the thing that's really going to blow your mind. You ready? That house back in 2020, in January of 2020, was 70.2 Bitcoin. Okay, you know what it is with $1 million in fiat terms? What that house is in Bitcoin today? It's 22 Bitcoin. Okay, wow. So that's a 68% reduction in the price of this house for a person that uses Bitcoin as their unit of account. The house price went down by 68% in the Bitcoiners world, but in the fiat person's world, the price went up by 100%. It's twice as much, right? This is why people can't understand this, because a person who's looking at this, that just looks at Bitcoin as being some made up Mario coin internet money, is looking at this and saying, oh, if I would have just been able to buy a house back in 2020, I'd have $500,000 if I levered it. If I levered up, I would have $500,000 in my bank account, right? That's what the no coiner is telling themselves. They're being rope-a-doped into this old legacy system by the numbers and what they think is increase in buying power. But for the Bitcoiner, they're looking at this and they're saying, I do not want to move from the house that I'm in right now. I don't want to buy the bigger house. I don't want to buy, because the value of this thing is going to get cheaper by 68% every 4 years. It's mind-blowing. And I think the numbers are so lost on people because people don't look at Bitcoin performance in 4 year periods of time. If there's one thing I would highly encourage for you to talk to family and friends about, is holding periods under 4 years get more and more speculative as you get further to the left in that timeline. So like if you're talking a month's performance of Bitcoin, it's insanely speculative. Once you get to that 4 year threshold, I don't think it's speculative at all. And the proof in the pudding of that, did you ever see the circular chart with the price, how it never penetrates a previous period of time, 4 years? Yeah, Rational Root has an amazing chart on this. That is the thing that you got to focus on, is a 4 year holding period, because it's truly investment at the 4 year holding period, at least based off of historical performance. And if people can somehow shift their line of thinking to this as their unit of account and holding period, let me tell you, like, your life just starts changing in dramatic ways.
100%. Like, your life starts changing in dramatic ways. I cannot emphasize that enough. If the world switched to a Bitcoin standard, I think the world would be a more peaceful place. I think the world would be a more optimistic place. I think the world would start thinking long term. I think people would start seeing opportunity. I think that the politically charged environment that I think is caused by the economic woes that are, primarily caused by fiat money. I think Michael Saylor said it best. 50% of the world's problems would disappear, right? If fiat is half of every transaction and that fundamental base layer is corrupted and broken, I think that affects every facet of society. I don't think it's a coincidence that the first country that made Bitcoin legal tender has the most popular president in the Americas. I think that once you fix the incentive structure of society, a lot of things go along with it. But we are Simply Bitcoin, and to show you guys the data, this is a website that we go to a lot. We go to this website a lot, right? And it's pretty self-explanatory. If you've been saving in Bitcoin, despite real estate prices doubling in the last, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, because of the absorbent amount of money printing, your life has gotten cheaper. In fact, a house in the US, if you've been saving in Bitcoin, has gotten 86% cheaper if you've been saving in Bitcoin. In the United Kingdom, it's gotten 92% cheaper. And mind you, we just touched all-time highs. We're not even at the cycle peak yet. Just to kind of give you guys an idea of how your life will radically change if you adopt a Bitcoin standard. So I kind of want to circle back to the El Salvador topic and pass it on back to Alejandra, right? This idea of what has happened since El Salvador, adopted a Bitcoin standard. Do you see people on the ground using it? Do you see more optimism in people's eyes, in people's outlook? What's your take?
Well, for sure, what I see is more tourism. More people are looking at El Salvador to invest. More people want to live there from all over the world. Like I said, they want to do their business there. They want to raise their families there because of Bitcoin and also because of all of the security stuff. So for me, yeah, I see that El Salvador is growing a lot. A lot of people are saying that El Salvador is going to be the next Singapore of Latin America. So Bitcoin has been a big opportunity for El Salvador for people to invest and have a good life. Back then, before Bukele, I never lived in El Salvador, to be honest. I always lived in the United States, in Texas, and in Mexico because I'm half Mexican. But now because of this, I decided to move to El Salvador. So I can't say my example, but I can say a lot of other examples that they want to have like the Salvadoran nationality, like back then, all Latinos wanted the United States nationality, American nationality. Now people want the Salvadoran. So it's going great for the Salvador, and it's making a good impact on the country.
100%. And I completely agree with that statement. And for a lot of people that don't know, Simply Bitcoin is a Latino owned business, right? Ofti and I, we have Hispanic backgrounds, wine as well. And a little bit Rustin, maybe not up front, but Rustin at heart for sure. And, the rest of the Simply Bitcoin crew. So yeah, like the traditional dream would be, as a South American, would be to immigrate to Miami, right? That's like you want to be in Miami, but what you're seeing now, and Opti's heard this as well, is you're seeing people want to go back. You're hearing people want to go back. What is that? Like you never hear that in your life, and people feel optimistic about what is happening there, which I think is the reason that I believe it's so absolutely historic. Now, Opti, to kind of circle back to Preston's comments in regards to the housing crisis, because that's really what he was talking about. Let me rephrase that actually. The housing crisis under fiat, and how essentially if you've been living on a Bitcoin standard, there is no housing crisis. Exactly. On a Bitcoin, damn, that's a good tweet. I'm about to tweet that out. On a Bitcoin standard, there is no housing crisis whatsoever. Housing is actually getting progressively cheaper, right? So what's your take on that, especially, as a millennial, as a Gen Zer?
Yeah, I mean, when you watch that video and you go through the numbers, it really is a very good visual or mental picture of like what's actually going on. You know, what was the clip we played yesterday of the guy saying like, oh, Bitcoin has no value? And we're all sitting here like, I don't know about you, but most us millennials and Gen Zers, like, we don't have any money. I remember before even Bitcoin, it was just kind of like, all right, I'm probably never even going to own a house now. Like, it's fine. You know, I'll be a renter. What's the Weef meme? Like, you will own nothing and be happy. It's like at a certain point, you're kind of just like, all right, I guess I'm going to be stuck in the rat race forever. And then once you hold Bitcoin, and as Preston was saying, your life drastically changes. And once you start saving in Bitcoin, you realize, oh, wow, like I can afford a normal life here. Like I can afford the American dream here. Like there is hope at the end of the tunnel. And when you really just continue to show the receipts that, hey, your life does get cheaper on the Bitcoin standard, you actually start to think differently. And you're like, wow, maybe in the future I can actually own something. My mom always jokes to me. And whenever I'm like having financial trouble, she's always just like, it's all right, you're a millennial. There's millions of you like that are broke and have no hope. And I'm like, Mom, like, damn, all right, that's savage. But like, that's where we are right now. The millennials and the Gen Zers, we're probably the brokest generations to date. And for most people, they have no hope. And that's why we always say that Bitcoin is hope, that Bitcoin does give you an opportunity to live the life that we were all promised. And like Nico and I always say, we can, with ourselves, use an example, be like, our lives have gotten better. Our lives constantly get cheaper on Bitcoin. And this next year or two, our lives will get even more cheaper. And really, the thing that Preston hit on the most is like, guys, this isn't an overnight thing. Like, you're going to have to save in Bitcoin. And if you hold in Bitcoin historically for 4 years, you're usually in the green. So like, just pay yourself first. Like, make sure you're saving something for your future, because your life gets cheaper on a Bitcoin standard. And you don't want to sell your Bitcoin for, I don't know, something stupid. Like, you want to have a good life at the very end of the tunnel. At the very end of your life, you want to own something. And hey, it just makes me more hopeful that on the Bitcoin standard, our lives will get cheaper. And one day I'll have a nice house. Until then, your boy's just renting and stacking Bitcoin.
100%. Yeah, man. On a Bitcoin standard, everything is absolutely more optimistic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we move on to the next segment, I do want to give a shout out to our newest drop. We teamed up with a Bitcoin artist. His name is Ashanoa. Right now, there's a limited drop of t-shirts, hats, and of course, we got women's merch as well. We should have sent one to Miss El Salvador. That would have been great. I blame that on wine. But anyways, check out the new merch again. We got the Simply Bitcoin Peaceful Revolution. We got the orange pill. We got the snapback, the dad hat, all the things that you guys have requested. Like I said, this is a limited drop. So get yours while supplies drop. We will not be making more of these. Guys, help Simply Bitcoin stay independent. Really helps the show if you guys get some of our merch. And of course, make sure to stack those sats first, and if you can afford it, and if you feel like it really does help the show. And here's wine in the chat. Let's send it to her then. WTF. Okay, so we are gonna send Alejandra some Simply Bitcoin merch, and Nico can't pronounce Ashanoa. How do you say it? Ashanoa. What am I saying? Ashanoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shot 256. That's why.
Okay. I get it. I guess I'm not in the know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the news. We have a lot to talk about today. Let's check it out. Here we go.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, guys, you want to take self-custody of your generational wealth. And the way that you do that is by properly securing your seed words and, of course, getting yourself a hardware wallet so that your sweet Satoshis are in cold storage. And, of course, we recommend our sponsor, Passport by Foundation Devices. You can get one right now. You can scan the QR code on your screen. It will take you directly to the Passport by Foundation Devices website, where you can get yourself a hardware wallet. All right, ladies and gentlemen, quick ETF update like we do so every single day. Also, shout out to the Twitter audience. This is a record for us. 584 of you are watching us on Twitter. So shout out to all you guys. We got about 300.
Because Miss El Salvador. Let's be honest.
Because of Miss El Salvador. Love it. You got a huge audience, Miss El Salvador. All right. Okay. So I do go ahead. Go ahead, Alejandra. Sorry to cut you off.
I said I love all my audience. Kisses.
Oh my God. We got an influencer on today's show. Make sure to follow Simply, guys. We won't have Miss El Salvador every day. Maybe some days we'll have Sophie as well. We got to have more women on the show, Opti. What's going on, man? I blame Jacob. Anyways. All right, guys. So I do want to give a quick ETF update. Let's go to the BlackRock. So BlackRock is almost at the amount of Bitcoin that Michael Saylor has, that MicroStrategy has. They have 183,000 Bitcoin. Fidelity is at 112,000 Bitcoin. And here is Vijay Boyapati. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. There's a supply shock that is impending. It's coming very, very, very quickly. Here is Vijay. He says BlackRock's ETF just swallowed 13,000 Bitcoin in one day, and its daily demand is growing. Thankfully, mining can keep up with this demand, producing checks notes 900 Bitcoin a day down to 450 a day in a few weeks. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there's a giant supply shock incoming. Even with the current demand, not enough Bitcoin is being mined to service that demand, and that is going to get cut in half in just a couple of literally like a month or so, like about a month and 10 days. So it's going to be absolutely crazy. Now, I do want to talk about this also. This is something that I tweeted in January. I said, Wall Street thinks it will change Bitcoin, but it will be Bitcoin that will change Wall Street. And what am I talking about? So here is a announcement coming out of BlackRock. It says BlackRock files to purchase more Bitcoin ETFs for their SIO fund. What is their SIO fund? Their SIO fund is the BlackRock Strategic Income Opportunities Fund, is a flexible bond strategy that seeks to offer investors attractive income returns and meaningful portfolio diversification. I think this is right here the key sentence, right? And the reason for that is why it was such a big deal not too long ago when the quote unquote conservative all asset portfolio coming out of Canada, and it was Fidelity Canada, and they announced that they were going to allocate a 1% allocation to Bitcoin in that quote unquote conservative portfolio. This is a big deal for the same reason, right? Once again, Bitcoin is being included in, again, a strategic income opportunities fund. So a non-Bitcoin related fund, Bitcoin is being included into that. So this again is the legitimization. This again is Bitcoin getting more and more included in the traditional financial system and it being taken more and more seriously as a traditional, as an asset, to be frank. And again, what does that do? It kind of changes the narrative. So kind of going back to my original tweet about, how I said Wall Street thinks it will change Bitcoin, but it will be Bitcoin that will change Wall Street. And, things are kind of very interesting, right? We all remember our friends at, the World Economic Forum. You'll own nothing in and be happy. Everyone remembers that, right? Well, take a look at one of their latest videos right from the very beginning. It says this chocolate factory is powered by a what? Net zero Bitcoin mine. Wait a second. I thought Bitcoin. Remember that meme from the World Economic Forum that said that Bitcoin was going to use all the electricity in the world? What changed? Well, you know what changed? BlackRock changed. And if you take a look at the very, very bottom of this, guess what it says? ESG integration. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Bitcoin is now ESG friendly. Why? Because it's Bitcoin and the incentives. So this goes back to my final point, which is a very, very famous quote. I did not make it up. It is Max Keiser. Max Keiser is very, very involved in El Salvador, and his very famous quote is, "You don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you." Even if that means redefining what ESG means, even if that means, one of the most evil, one of the most perceived evilest dudes in the world, Klaus Schwab, saying, you know what, this is net zero, this is ESG friendly. Bitcoin does those things because of its incentives. So I was talking about Max Keiser a little bit. Max Keiser's done amazing work in El Salvador, Miss El Salvador. And I know Max and Stacy have done wonders down there. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Well, I met them not a long ago, and yes, if you have like a big project or a big business about Bitcoin, they are definitely the people you want to talk to. They're very nice, they are super funny, and yeah, they've been around quite much in El Salvador, and well, they are the people, so yeah, they are very friendly.
Yeah, and no, they've done wonders. Also, they're part of the Bitcoin office in El Salvador as well. They've really helped with the adoption of it as well. So yeah, shout out to Max and Stacy. They've really been pushing this forward. Max has been calling Bitcoin, basically, he's been on point. He's been telling, very popular influencers, very popular people that have huge followings about Bitcoin when it was dollars, when it was pennies, when it was cents. So shout out to Max and Stacy, really for being in the vanguard, the forefront of this movement, and shout out to them both. And again, this quote is so powerful. You don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you. And I think a testament of that, again, is Bitcoin being included in this strategic income opportunities fund. And at the very bottom of the page, it really says ESG integration. And then coincidentally, a World Economic Forum propaganda meme literally says this chocolate factory is powered by a net zero Bitcoin mine, which, there was no net zero Bitcoin stuff, a couple years ago. But I think that's just a testament to Bitcoin's incentives really taking over. And, we have to remember that fiat's incentives are fundamentally broken. And because they are broken, they kind of like Frankenstein stuff. And I think a lot of people's perception of these large institutions like the IMF, the World Bank, the World Economic Forum, I like to call it the Container Conference, is that these are just like these large institutions with really evil people that are twirling their mustache and scheming and saying, let's take over the world and, let's fuck things up. I think that they're just people trying to pay off their mortgages like the rest of us. I just think that the fiat system has misaligned incentives, whereas in the Bitcoin system has aligned incentives. So that's why it's like we all have PTSD right now. And you look at BlackRock and you're like, I don't trust them. I don't trust them. And you shouldn't trust them. But you know what you can trust? You can trust their incentives. And no one can resist Bitcoin's irresistible incentives. Anyways, Opti, what's your take before we move on to the next topic?
Yeah, well, I find it very interesting that, right when Larry Fink gets into the market and his, ETF is doing very well. We're starting to see this slow trickle of people changing their tunes on Bitcoin, especially the World Economic Forum. Like, that's absolutely hilarious. I will not forget all of the FUD that they've thrown at us Bitcoiners about us about to boil the world, or we're using too much water, or, you know, what has Bitcoin done for you lately type stuff. And now they're like, hey, wait, actually, look at this, guys. It's helping conserve wildlife in Africa. Like, you guys should love Bitcoin. So it's very interesting to see that happen. And then the SIO pension fund news. It's very interesting that we're finally seeing other people follow Saylor's lead, and now like it's going to slow trickle, and we're probably in that gradually then suddenly moment where we're going to see a lot of people do the same playbook as Saylor, and Saylor's, you know, keep stacking so much Bitcoin, and he's probably going to be like the richest guy in the world soon. So it's just incredible that this is where we are right now. And then on the BlackRock, the ESG part on their website, it is very interesting to see that BlackRock is pulling away from their push towards ESG narratives, and now them fully embracing Bitcoin.
I don't think they're pushing it away from it. They are. They're pushing it.
They're like defunding one of their ESG funds. They're reframing what ESG stands for. So like, obviously, don't trust what they're saying. Watch what they're doing. And on the back end, they're probably still pushing a lot of this stuff. I know a lot of their ESG stonks are still in their different portfolios, but you're starting to see that the pendulum is swinging a little bit. And they whether by choice or, you know, backtracking a little bit, by them embracing Bitcoin, it just goes to show that Bitcoin is actually helping the world economy and the ecosystem. And as much as they can talk bad about Bitcoin, Bitcoin actually does do what ESG intended to do, even though I don't like to use the ESG meme at all because it's already been tainted. But hey, this is all good for Bitcoin. We all know Bitcoin incentivizes the use of good energy, incentivizes the use of more energy. It's going to make the world better. And shouts out to the Bitcoin miners out there that are doing cool, creative stuff. You know, like I want to try some of this chocolate. I love dark chocolate. This how do we get in touch with them? I want to eat some of this.
Yeah, I love chocolate too. I'm a big fan, so I want some.
That's right. Everyone in the chat, guys, Miss El Salvador is a fan of chocolate. All right. All right. Moving on to the next section. And that's what we're today, because the Chad Saylor continues his speculative attack on the dollar. So essentially what Michael Saylor is doing is they announced that they're selling $700 million of convertible notes, a type of debt that could be turned into stock at check this out, at a 0.625 interest rate, basically like for free, due in 2030. They initially planned to sell $600 million, but increased that amount due to high demand. These notes are being offered to big institutional investors and might be increased by another 100 million if those investors want more. The sale is set to close. Sorry about that. The sale is set to close on March 8th, 2024. These notes are unsecured, meaning they're not backed by physical assets. MicroStrategy might buy back these notes under certain conditions, and the notes can be converted into MicroStrategy stock at a set price, which is higher than the current stock price, indicating a positive outlook on their part. So essentially what they're doing is that they're leveraging their company, right, to raise this absurd amount of money at an interest rate of 0.625%. Look, just to kind of give you guys an idea of how low that is, right? We had record low interest rates for mortgages and all that stuff, and it was between 2.5 and 3%. He's getting it for 0.625%. And this is basically free money. This is a speculative attack. He's leveraging his company to buy more Bitcoin. He's going to use that $600 to $700 million to buy more Bitcoin. And guess what happens to his stock once he buys more Bitcoin? This is what happens to his stock. So it just becomes this like self-fulfilling prophecy, right? His stock continues to go up. He keeps doing the same thing. Look, it just jumped back up again. $1,283. Look, before Saylor started his Bitcoin strategy, his stock for many, many years was stuck between 138, $100, $140, $120, and then started the Bitcoin strategy. And now his stock, since he started this, is making all-time highs at $1,281. Make no mistake, this is a speculative attack on the dollar. Here's Dylan LeClaire. He says MicroStrategy raising $700 million at 0.625 per annum due in 2030 with a convert strike price 40% higher than where the stock closed yesterday, with all the proceeds going towards buying more Bitcoin. Masterclass. Dylan said it himself. Saylor is borrowing money for free. How do people not see what's happening? And this kind of goes back to the question that I asked Saylor when I saw him at Bitcoin Atlantis, and that was literally Eric Cason, Saylor, and myself, and I was like, why haven't people woken up to this? Maybe it's an ideological thing, maybe it's a pride thing, but I can tell you that it's not going to work out in the long run. Take a look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie, right? This is the performance of MicroStrategy since they've adopted the Bitcoin strategy since August 10th, 2020. MicroStrategy is up 466%. I think more than that. I think this is outdated. Bitcoin up 333%. The S&P is only up 49%. The NASDAQ only up 44%. Gold is down 1%. Silver down 19%. Bonds down 20%. I think this is a bit outdated. That number is probably even higher right now. So the point is that, yes, Michael Saylor is using the legacy financial system. He's leveraging it to stack more Bitcoin. And yeah, I mean, look, people are in the chat are saying Saylor hates the dollar. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, a speculative attack on the dollar. He's literally using the legacy system. He's leveraging his company in order to buy more Bitcoin. Then his price goes up. He rinses and repeats, and he just continues to buy more Bitcoin. I wish I had a Fortune 500 company to do the same thing. Damn, wow. Michael Saylor is crushing the game. And look, I'm calling it now. It's only a matter of time. And we also got a question in the chat for Miss El Salvador, so we'll ask that in a second. But it's only a matter of time before a major tech company or another billionaire sees that what Michael Saylor is doing and follows in his footsteps. Now, here's the thing, though, ladies and gentlemen. There's not enough Bitcoin to go around. There's estimated to be between 60 to 50 million millionaires all around the world. If one of them each just wanted one Bitcoin, there's physically not enough. Just to kind of give you guys an idea of the absolute scarcity and the demand that is coming. Anyways, we do have a question from Weinekiss, so I do want to ask this. I'm going to pull it up, kind of change it up a little bit. Weinekiss says, Opti, do you want to ask? Miss El Salvador, what's your favorite pupusa flavor?
Well, my favorite one, to be honest, I do it myself. I just put a bunch of stuff. I just ask the lady to put mushroom, beans, cheese. I love loroco, so I put some of it. So it's a mix of things, you know, like I just don't eat the one that eats beans with cheese or the one of chicharron. No, I put a bunch of stuff. I always try to eat something different.
So we also have, someone said a really interesting comment. You are half Mexican. Tacos or pupusas?
They always ask me that question. always. But it's very hard because both are good, you know, like both are very different. Both have like very different flavors. So I wouldn't say that one is better than the other one. They are simply different, you know? Okay,
Miss El Salvador with a very political answer. And here we go. Wines Tips, new segment. Sell your sats, buy chocolates from Miss El Salvador, right? So I told you, you told the crowd that you like chocolates. You might be being sent a lot of chocolates in the near future. Also, shout out Adam O'Brien, CEO of the Bitcoin Well. Best place to build your self-custody stack, ladies and gentlemen. Go to bitcoinwell.com today. But Opti is gonna, I think we might be dropping a 24-hour meme live stream.
Talk about this? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Nico nukes the meme review and then is like, hey, Opti, now you got to do a 24-hour meme review. What's going on here?
So, we're working on it, but a 24-hour just live stream of the best Bitcoin memes. We got to give. I didn't nuke it. It's on Friday.
I know. I'm just trolling.
We're building it up. It like instead of Netflix where they drop the shows all in one season, it's kind of like going back to HBO where you have to wait a week for an episode. And then it kind of like builds up the anticipation. Anyways, Opti, what's your thoughts on the speculative attack on the dollar? I mean, that's the way that I see it, man. He's just like using the legacy system, leveraging the legacy system in order to continue to build his Bitcoin stack. I mean, it's obvious to me. And what happens when someone else follows in his footsteps? This thing's gonna blow the F up, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's very interesting that Saylor hasn't actually used that framing of a speculative attack on Bitcoin. Obviously, there's like corporate legal reasons that he probably doesn't say this, but that's exactly what he's doing here. And I've been joking about this for a while. Like, I wish we had an infinite money printer like Saylor to just constantly stack Bitcoin and do the financial trickery to get more Bitcoin and just acquire as much Bitcoin as possible. And man, it's just, he's been putting on a masterclass for what, like 3 years now, or maybe 4 years now. We're on our 4th year, I think it is. And it's just incredible to see. And I think that signal is starting to spread a little bit and people are waking up to what Saylor is doing. And of course, as much as we like to, I don't know, throw shade at the spot Bitcoin ETF, we are seeing that the adoption levels of Bitcoin are going to increase and more people are starting to get educated around Bitcoin. We know that BlackRock is out here doing conferences, educating people about Bitcoin. So we have, I hate to use the smartest people in the world, but like the smartest financiers in the world starting to spread the Bitcoin memes. And now I think it's going to be, I know we have a Q1 about to wrap up in April. So maybe we'll get some news coming out that other people are starting to follow that lead. But man, Saylor is just way ahead of the game and he's just showing everyone how to do it. He's going to, again, most likely be the richest person on planet Earth within, 4 years. Yeah, besides Satoshi. And I think we're seeing that Wall Street is waking up to this. And once we see a few more billionaires start to do this, we were kind of speculating whether Bezos is doing this. It's like, they know the game. I'm sure we're seeing, I was looking at some other videos yesterday and a lot of the richest people in the world are starting to divest out of their stocks right now. And they're all looking for alternatives because, hey, I don't know if you guys are paying attention closely, but you are if you're watching Simply Bitcoin. The financial world is, it's limping along and people are looking for different ways to store value. And hey, it's only going to take a few billionaires, a few people with a lot of capital with conviction to really drive this price up crazy. And once everyone starts doing this, like I said it yesterday on a Good Day with Sean yesterday on a podcast, it's like once even nation states wake up, once people with the money printers wake up and they're just directly printing money to stack Bitcoin, like, I don't know about you, but this just going to blow your mind and the price is going to go nuclear. But hey, in the meantime, Saylor's just out here winning too hard. And BlackRock's trying to catch up, but he might have got too far of a head lead there. So we'll see what happens.
100%. All right, guys.
Wait. Well, you do have a question here, Nico. They say you keep skirting away from what the conversation with Saylor was.
I said as much as I could. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, before we move on to the culture segment to talk about what Alejandra is working on these days, I do want to give a very special shout out to our sponsor, Kaboom Rex, the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host mining equipment. You can check out their racks by scanning the QR code on your screen. It will take you directly to their Telegram marketplace where you can connect with a member of their sales team. They make purchasing their products easy and transparent. You could also sell your mining equipment with them, access their vast network of domestic and international customers when you sell your mining equipment with Kaboom Racks. What are you waiting for? Start your Bitcoin mining utopia today with Kaboom Racks. Check the link in the video description or check the QR code on your screen. All right, everybody, let's hit the culture segment.
The Daily Culture.
And I also do want to give a very special shout out to our sponsor, Bitcoin Evangelism, Planting Seeds for the Decentralized Revolution. This is a book written by our boy, Brian DeMint, and it's an absolute beast of a resource for orange pilling no coiners and altcoiners alike. This is a book for Bitcoiners who know Bitcoin, but have a hard time explaining it to their friends. It's a book for Bitcoiners who are trying to explain Bitcoin only to altcoiners. It's available on Amazon right now. All you got to do is scan the QR code on your screen or check the link in the video description. All right, Opti, I see what you have.
All right. Oh, Nico, you took yourself off screen.
There we go. I am back. That is Miss El Salvador, Miss Bitcoin. Let me ask you something, Alejandra. Who came up with that costume? Was it your idea?
Yes, it was my idea.
No way! Wow.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Tell us more.
Okay, it's my idea, and when I told the designer what I wanted, well, I've been saying this a few times, that Salvadorans, they do not know a lot about Bitcoin when the president implemented as legal tender. So some of Salvadorans, they thought that the government made it to steal their money, because they gave $30 for free to all citizens in El Salvador. And some people got hacked with the app of Chivo. So the Salvadorans thought that the government made it to steal money. And then when I told the designer that I wanted to be all about Bitcoin, he told me no, because Bitcoin doesn't represent us and blah, blah, blah. Like, he didn't want it to be all Bitcoin. So he decided to do the history of the coin of El Salvador. So my costume is not only about Bitcoin, it's about the cacao that is in the border, because around the coin, because back then with the Mayans, the cacao was the coin, and then el colón was the first coin of El Salvador, then the US dollar and the Bitcoin. But when I saw it, I loved it. I imagined something else. What I wanted to show at Miss Universe was like an Iron Man suit, like all gold with, I don't know, some wings, something like that, like super futuristic. I wanted to be about Bitcoin. But I don't know if you know, but this year I will be participating in another international pageant. I'll be representing El Salvador. So my national costume, I wanted to be also about Bitcoin, but something, like I said, like something different, more futuristic, and only about Bitcoin. So if some of you have some ideas, I'll be happy to listen to them.
Love it. What was the response on like an international level when you wore this? Like, did people even care, or is it just, I know it was a hit in the Bitcoin community. Everyone's like, oh my God, I'm in love. So what did, like, I don't know, the other contestants say when you wore this? Did they even register, or they're just like, okay, that's cool?
Well, some of course, okay, there were like 85 countries, and some of them, they didn't know what Bitcoin was, so they didn't bother to ask. But there were some people backstage that they were working, backstage at Miss Universe with the cameras and all of that, and they were like, wow, your costume is about Bitcoin, I love it. And they did like a lot of interviews about me, but that was it, and then after I went out with my Bitcoin dress, then I saw like a lot of people were posting a bunch of stuff of my picture, and like sending me messages, like they literally told me like, Bitcoin was up because of you, thank you so much. And I was like, okay, you're welcome. Yeah, it was a big thing. I remember Panama, she told me like, oh my God, like your costume is in all the news in Panama and mine is not, like.
You took the spotlight.
Were you nervous when you went on stage?
No, I wasn't because there's a lot. there's a lot of adrenaline, excitement, so you forget about that. And also you are on stage, what, like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, it's nothing. So you feel it like very, very fast. So no, I wasn't nervous, and it was something that I wanted since I was a little girl, so I was very excited.
Gotcha.
Was it heavy? Was the coin heavy? It seems like it might be heavy.
No, it wasn't, because it had like a support.
Okay.
So yeah, it had a support. And also, like I said, like you walk, what, 30 seconds. So, and with all the excitement and adrenaline, you don't feel anything.
Okay, awesome.
Gotcha. Okay. And let me ask you something. So this happened and made a big splash in the Bitcoin community, made a big splash like internationally. But what happened after? Like, you made this big splash. Like, what happens? Like, what happens when, you become Miss El Salvador? What responsibilities come with it? And how does Bitcoin play into all of this?
Well, after the pageant, I started to do like more social work in El Salvador. I started to go to schools and educate little kids about Bitcoin. I gave them like free shirts with a B of Bitcoin, like white shirts. And then I started to do my designs of the shirts about Bitcoin and the culture of El Salvador, and also to support the other part of education with the little kids. And I started to give more talks about my experience at Miss Universe, about Bitcoin, why you should buy Bitcoin, why you should save, Bitcoin and use it more, because Salvadorans, they do not take the advantage, even though it's our coin. Only the foreigners. So that was something that shocked me, and that's why I decided to go to schools and educate all of these people. And then also I started to promote more about health, like, because 10 years ago I started to grow my own fruits, vegetables. So I talk about those two things, about being self-independent in your food, growing your own organic food, and being self-independent in your economy with Bitcoin. So that aligned, and I said, like, okay, I'm gonna talk about these two things. I'm gonna advocate about this, teach kids about being self-independent in the two things that are more essential in life. That it's your economy and food, of course. So that's one of my projects. Well, two of my projects. And also I have a CBD business, because I grow cannabis as well, and we do CBD oil for people that is sick, that has cancer, Parkinson, all of that, and we give it for free to people in need. And we started to do the business to keep helping all of that people. I have here one of the CBD oils, and everything, it's handmade, it's organic, of course, because my dad, he got pancreatic cancer and he got cured because of everything that we've done, like the CBD oil, because it regenerates the cells. And what is cancer is cancerogenous cells. So the CBD helps a lot for that. And also eating healthier and eating organic.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That's so much to unpack there. Does your business accept Bitcoin?
Of course.
Oh, okay. Great answer. Opti?
Yeah, no. So you're working on a lot of projects, but before I go to that, I know Nika loves this topic, hence why I'm going to ask you the question. But how has Bitcoin changed El Salvador? Do you see more people adopting Bitcoin? What's going on down there? We like to get people down there actually tell us the truth. So what's going on?
Yes, definitely. There's a lot of more people, Salvadorans, that are using Bitcoin, that want to pay things with Bitcoin, of course. So I think every year is getting more and more and more into there, because they are learning more, of course, because like I said at the beginning, they didn't know what was Bitcoin. They didn't know anything. But now that there are more education about it, and also the government is going to implement some Bitcoin classes, of course. And so people can be like saving at least, that every time I go to schools, I tell kids, like, instead of like wasting your $1 in candies, put it on Bitcoin. It doesn't matter if it's a lot or if it's too low. Like if you invest at least $1 a month, well, that's something, you can start little by little, because people also think that only people with money can afford this, and like that's not true. Like you can literally change your life with it.
Love it. Love it. Okay, let's talk about the stuff that you're working on. I'm over here. You have your website, missbitcoin.io, and we can talk about the Chibo Apiro project. And how do you say it? Kankanami?
Kankanami,
the CBD. So what are you working on? Where can people find your stuff? And what do you want to tell the people?
Okay, so my CBD products, I have skincare, that it's lotions for the face, for the eyes, because CBD regenerates the cells and helps for wrinkles, for acne, for dark spots, and everything. My family makes all of this, so it's everything handmade and organic, and we grow the cannabis. We do literally everything. And I have the CBD oil, that it's this one, and I have the herbal teas for different diseases as well. So that's my family business. And then I started the Chivo shirts, that though some of the designs I made them, that it's about Bitcoin infused with El Salvador. I have some with Bukele, some of the pupusas, Surf City. Yeah, that one is Bukele with the volcano. I have one of the volcano. That one, I designed that one, the volcano one, and the pupusas I designed it as well. Yeah, that one I designed that one as well, and that one and those. Both of my business, you can find them on Instagram. I'm working on the CBD business to have the web page. So yeah, you can just send me a message and I'll send you all the products that you want.
Awesome. For the audio listeners, what's the Instagram account so that they can find you?
Kankanami, it's KANKENAM, 3 I's. Yes, it's there. And then the Chivo one is Chivo _SV. Yes, that one. And my personal one is Ale Guajardo _SB.
Love it. Well, as something Nico and I always say here on the show, that Bitcoin has a way of turning us all into entrepreneurs, and everyone in the chat is in love with you right now and saying that you're a great representation for Bitcoin. So continue to do what you're doing. And then the last thing, what's the last message you want to leave with the audience and anyone listening?
Well, first of all, thank you for watching. Like you said that you have a lot of viewers. Thank you so much for viewing this interview. I'm very happy to be here with all of you and to express a little bit of what I'm doing, how I love Bitcoin, and how will I continue educating as much people as I can so they can start changing their lives with Bitcoin like it changed mine.
Love it. Actually, one last thing. The chat wants to know how to say stacking sats in Spanish.
Como guardar o salvar sats. Sats it's the same. Ahorrar, tal vez, ahorrar sats. I never say it in Spanish. I'm sorry.
Okay. Then last thing, the chat just wants you to say Bitcoin 5 times.
Okay. Bitcoin.
Okay. All right. Well, Alejandra, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. And I think this is all-time high on Twitter. 900 people watching on Twitter. It's not because of us. We all know why. So thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming on.
No, thank you so much for inviting me. And well, if you want some of my products, just DM me.
Awesome. All right, guys. So you can find, let's pull up Alejandra's Twitter handle. There we go. You guys could follow Alejandra at Miss Bitcoin _SV. That is badass that you have that title, Miss Bitcoin. Totally deserve it, coming out with that costume at the Miss Universe pageant. So shout out to you, Alejandra. Anyways, that was our show, guys. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. But the number one thing you could do to push the peaceful Bitcoin revolution: share Bitcoin content, share Bitcoin culture. help Alejandra help with her business. We just got to spread Bitcoin businesses, spread Bitcoiners. This is how we win. We take over the culture. We take over the politics. This is how we win. Alejandra, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, guys, we will be back tomorrow for another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. Tonight, we have a Simply Bitcoin IRL interview with Fred Krueger. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And I'll see you guys at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So in about a couple hours or so. Until then, love you all. Stack sats, stay solvent, stay humble, all that good stuff. Peace out, everybody. Check it out. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.